Welcome to the Soul Tribe Podcast. The Soul Tribe Podcast was created to help you navigate through the world of spirituality, wellness, and self-development in an easy, grounded, and relatable way. We break down everything from the Akashic Records, manifesting, spirituality, and so much more. We want to help expand your boundaries and bring the spiritual world to you in a fun and easy way. Get ready to be inspired with tips, tools, and easy to digest information. Let's do this.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Soul Tribe Podcast. Of course, we start recording and my cat decides to eat every time. Lorena, every time. Like, we just finished a dual reading and the cat decided that he was going to sleep the whole time quietly in the background. But when we go to record, the cat decides he's gonna scratch the bathroom. He's gonna chomp on all his food.
You can hear it all too.
Yeah, because my mic picks up like noises really, really well.
2021 ends and 2022. That's right. Yeah, I don't even know what I'm saying. We're gonna get you a new mic, Lou. We're gonna get you a new one.
I really like my mic. It folds up really nicely. When I like went to Uruguay, when I went to like other places, like I folded it up and it's like it becomes small. Like I don't want to change it, and also it looks super cool.
It sucks. So moving on.
I love that mic. Okay. Anyways, welcome back to another podcast episode.
Welcome back.
Today we've decided we're going to talk about the cycles of healing that the Akashic Records taught us about, that kind of us humans go through. This is at least the way that the Akashic Records see it and explain it to us from a place of like, they try to help us go through those things, understand them, clear them out. And I think the best way to start with it is describe how they say it, which is the onion effect.
Yeah, like the layers of the onion, right?
Yeah. So it's like you have this huge struggle, this huge issue, and you're like really trying to clear yourself out of it, right? And just make life a little bit better. And you take that layer of onion off, and then you have, oh no, I have a bunch of other layers. Like you get the next thing to deal with, the next thing to do, right? Figure out, clear out, learn about.
And one thing can lead to the next too, right? Because it's like, oh, I've healed this, but then this underlying thing that was there that I couldn't pay attention to because I had to heal this first. And that's very normal. Like, I think a lot of us go into this very mental state of like, wow, once I heal this, everything's going to be great. I'm done. And it's like, no, it's a journey. Yeah, I think it's like, that's why we're here, right? We're here to like heal, to learn, to kind of advance and expand. Yeah. So yeah, that's normal. It's very normal. So when you feel like you're,
always have something.
Yeah, and I always feel like when you're up, you're like, wow, I've healed this, I'm great, and all of a sudden, bam, they hit you with something else, and you're like, you feel like you're down there again, like you went back 10 steps, right? It's such a normal feeling.
And the other catchy thing is that sometimes, let's say that first layer you dealt with, like you were saying, led you to the underlining thing under it. But then sometimes the cycles of life, the onion, there's another onion peel that's similar, or is actually a repeat of that first additional one that you cleared out. So a lot of cycles can possibly come back. And it's because the soul's deciding to still, it hasn't really totally been cleared out, or the lesson wasn't fully, whatever it is. But it's really normal for souls have to cycle through that same lesson or issue in that one lifetime.
I think I feel this really personally with like the self-love stuff, because I know a lot of my struggle in this life is with self-love, and I feel like I got to a point where I'm like, wow, I really got this down, like I know what I'm doing. And then you'll be thrown something like a test or something, and I'll be like, oh, I don't know if I'm actually okay with this still. Like there's a whole other aspect to this that I haven't thought of or that I wasn't looking at. So sometimes I think it can also come in that respect. And that you'll be tested constantly, because you might be really strong in certain aspects, but others, you haven't figured it out. You haven't gotten that healed completely. So
I think I'm being tested for my relationship onion layer all the freaking time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Wow. That one always comes back, and I have to deal with something that reminds me of something. Oh, I dealt with this already in another relationship at another time. Oh, it's back again. Wow.
It's hard also. Like, how can you be so self-aware that you realize that it's something that you're repeating. Because sometimes, like, I've been in those patterns where I repeat something, and you're just like, I think the problem for me was that I wasn't seeing it from I wasn't seeing it for where I was playing a role in it. Does that make sense? Like, it was always like, oh, these circumstances are coming to me. Why does it keep... It's like the moment we can be like, actually, no, I'm attracting that. There's something I need to learn here.
What's the common denominator of those two situations? It's you.
Yeah, it's me. Exactly. So that's where you start to be like, okay, and take a step back. And you have to be very self-aware with this stuff, because I think it can easily be a thing of like, it gets to you. You get bombarded with like, oh my God, I have so much healing to do. Let me just do none of it. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And some people get fed up, I feel, and it's like, no, this is why we're here. This is our journey. We need to go through the motions. We need to like really apply ourselves to it and be self-aware within that process. I think that's so important.
Yeah.
That's where my journaling comes in, I think. Like, for me, journaling's been really a good way to be self-aware, to kind of like call myself out on things, and to connect with my emotions. Because I think sometimes I don't realize I'm feeling things because I keep myself busy, and I'll be doing, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, I'm back into that pattern again. I don't want to be in that pattern anymore. So the only way you can really keep going through those layers is by stopping and like resetting and being like, wait, where am I at right now?
That reminds me of when I get to that state, like where I go, I'm done. Like, I literally, I even had like a boss where I was like, she was really special. And I remember I was like, oh God, everyone had issues with her. And I was the one that kind of like, actually got along with her pretty well compared to like other people. And I started realizing the pattern that everyone was talking about, but it wasn't as severe with me. But at one point, it started nudging me a little bit, started bothering me. And then one day she said something, and I was screaming at my boss, I'm done.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God. I was
So it wasn't that situation. It was everything going up to that point.
I don't know. I can't remember. I don't even remember what it is that made me snap. But she was like caught off guard. She's like, what? I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm not going to deal with it anymore. It's your problem now.
Like, I remember that. Oh my.
Yeah. Who the hell does that to their boss, by the way? Seriously. But, well, anyways.
I mean, I think that is a reflection of you holding things inside and not dealing with them or communicating them.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell you. I can't confirm that because I don't remember what led to that, and I don't even remember what...
You blocked it out.
I don't know. Maybe like the worst things happened after. I remember the other things that happened after with other bosses. Like,
oh, wow.
Like, right? Like, I don't remember that specific scenario because that was like the beginning of the job, and I was there for years. So like, I don't remember that beginning because a lot like shit hit the fan after with other scenarios. Like, that was probably a walk in the park compared to everything else that came in. But
of course. Yeah, and that goes to show, right? When you're not dealing with your own stuff, you're more than likely to explode or react in ways or go into this role of a victim because you're not dealing with your crap.
I wasn't a victim. I was telling her I was done. She wasn't going to tell me.
No, but you exploded. But there's ways to deal with that are more... Yeah. Like aligned, you know what I mean? It's like you don't have to yell at the person. You need to be communicating with them and telling them, actually, thank you, but I'm gone. See you later. Bye. Like, yeah. But no, she didn't even know what was going on. She didn't know what you were feeling. She was caught off guard. Exactly.
Because everything was always okay, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm done.
So that might be...
I'm not doing that anymore. So forget it. You know what? And I was literally in the middle of quitting. I was like, figure it out without me. Because she didn't know how to do what I did in the job. So I was like, you know what? Figure it out without me.
Yeah, I think that we have to also... That's where we have to be self kind of analytical or self-aware of realizing where there's things that we need to improve, right? Like, is it your communication? Is it these repetitive things that happen because of something that you're not willing to do at this point or not ready to do? And just be really real with yourself. Because if we can think of all of this as like cycles, right? So there's ups, there's downs. Sometimes things are going really well. You feel really aligned. And then all of a sudden you're down there like 10 steps behind. Yeah. But if we know that it is like that's the energy behind it, then we we're not surprised, right? We're more likely to just go with the flow with it and deal with the things as they come, and know that it's not like expecting things to go wrong, but it's like, okay, I'm going to enjoy this time right now, but there might be things that I'm not seeing right now that I need to deal with that are going to help improve my life. Because the fact of the matter here is, things that we don't deal with, they're going to repeat themselves either in this life or in other lives. Like, we need to deal with it. Those are lessons we need to learn, and they're going to show up in one way or another. We can't hide from it, right?
It's funny because I always think back to my image of the first person that read me, and how I like the image at first, like, oh, she's a reader and she connects with this information and she connects with these beings, right? She connects with Akashic Records. And I remember going to her thinking she must have everything so like
figured out.
Right. This was me before getting into spiritual knowledge. Like, yeah, I was like, she must have everything so like figured out. Wow. And then like, we started getting to know them more because we started doing their courses and stuff, right? And you realize, wow, no, they have a bunch of junk just like us all over the place. Some of them even worse than maybe we were at the time. So it's like, that's something I always remember, because I know that like I have someone in front of me in the camera and I'm reading their records. And at the time when you're reading someone's records, you're connected with the sacred information. You're in a there are students that are learning level 2. They know that you're in a non-judgmental place. Your own brain critical thinking is not there. So it's not really the full-blown Lucia.
Yeah, it's not that version, the whole version, right?
No, yeah. It's like the expression is there and I'm the one receiving information and saying it. But really, I'm in a place where I don't criticize and I don't judge. And I don't have my typical reactions that I would, because my full-blown like belief system and critical thinking isn't there, because that's part of the setup of you being when you're reading someone else, right? This is all like we teach this all in course too, but it's like when I'm in front of that person giving them advice, it might seem like I have it all figured out.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, we just do this and this and this is what happens, blah, 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 right? And that's all their stuff, and it sounds like I got it all down, but actually, I'm just channeling what they're giving me. I will disconnect from their records in 2 seconds. I might make the same exact mistake that they're making.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly. This doesn't make
like
you like. Just being a reader or spiritual doesn't make your problems go away. And if anything, and this is what we talk a little bit about in the course, right? The level 2 course, it's you'll be tested even more. You need to work on yourself even more, because you need to be able to be there and hold space for people. And it's finding balance. It's really looking at things that you might not be thinking of right now. Yeah, it's crazy. It's really crazy.
It's just funny how like the image of the reader at the time, because of the state that they're able to energetically be put into thanks to the process, it's funny how the reader might look like they really understand it and have it figured out, but they have a human life just like you do. And that's something that it took me a while to realize when I wasn't a reader yet and I was getting read. It took me a while to realize that.
Yeah, me too. I think I had that vision of she was kind of like our go-to reader, right? We'd always go to her. She was close to our house. We can book pretty quickly with her. We'd go to her house and stuff. So I think as I started to get to know her, and and this is what comes up in my readings. I talk from experience sometimes, because I'll bring up certain things that the person can relate to. So this isn't about not, like, you're human, right? You're human. You're going to also be going through things. And we're all going through a healing process. It doesn't matter how spiritual you are or not. Like, this is part of life. This is part of a soul incarnated in this human world. We need to go through this. Our soul chose this. Yeah.
It's not.
What are you thinking of?
I'm just thinking about like how my image of her was a certain way, and then I can remember the image I had, and now I remember the image I thought when I realized, oh my goodness, she has her
own stuff to deal with.
I remember hearing her talk to me, because you don't really usually she had like back-to-back readings. So you'd go in, get your reading, and then you'd leave, and you didn't really have time to talk or anything, right? But when we started kind of being more in that circle, because we're doing the courses and you start meeting them and having time in between the classes, I remember thinking, oh wow, you you have a van full of stuff just like I do. Like you have the onion going on as well. Like, and then you realize, yeah, it's all of us.
And I don't think she ever tried to hide that. And that's why I love the podcast. I think we were able to be so real. You
just didn't have time to talk to her.
You just didn't have time to see that. Yeah. And I think it could be easy to think that anybody spiritual you see out there is living this such an aligned life and has it all together. It's like, no. People have their own.
That's the la spirituality that makes me mad. Like,
yeah, no.
Be real.
Yeah, we gotta be real. Gotta be real. I really think that's the best thing we could all do, because then that allows other people and gives people permission to also be real and to also realize that you don't have to be perfect or have everything perfect to be spiritual or to work on your stuff, and that
also what is perfect?
No, yeah, what is perfect? Like,
yeah, there's really nothing. I don't know. Perfection doesn't really exist. Every soul, even. It's funny because, like, when you start reading people, you start realizing how even every soul and the way they project onto their lifetimes, how they're going to function and how they're going to learn and what they're planning on doing. You see so many souls. Even the souls are so different. Why wouldn't we all be unique and different and have different issues? The souls are so freaking different. Like, it's just crazy. Even the way they plan their lifetimes, as a reader, you see that. There's not one soul that's like, I'm going to do it the standard way. Like, there is no standard way.
No, it's so individual and so tailored to that soul and that life and that incarnation. I kind of want to talk about, like, the way I'm thinking about the cycles of healing is, you know, as readers, we see people come to us. And some people, I want to look at it in the perspective of, like, repeat readings, right? Some people are like, oh, how often can I get a reading? It's like, well, there isn't really a rule. You know, we were taught that there was a rule, but there really isn't a rule.
Yeah, I don't know why they taught that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There is no rules. Like you.
I have one rule, but it's not really a rule. It's like I don't want the person to come back to me and nothing changed, everything's the same, because I don't want them to spend the money on the reading and I'm going to be probably saying the same thing to them again.
Yeah.
But that's not really a rule. That's just like more.
It's just like advice you give them.
It's like a suggestion.
Yeah, suggestion. So it's interesting when you can have like a repeat client come to you, and obviously we don't remember things, but what I do generally, and this is me, the feeler, right? I'll be like, wow, your energy feels so different. Like I'll go on a reading, I'll be like, wow, you feel like what's been going on? And then they'll go into their questions. They'll be like, wow, you've been doing some work. Like you can feel it when someone's energy comes on.
And sometimes they don't pick up on it because for them it's they're living it. It's so gradual for them. But you haven't talked to them maybe in a year, and you feel it and you sense it and you see it.
It's super interesting. And I think that also goes to show the cycles, because people can come to you super upbeat one moment, like the same person, right? Wow, things are really good right now. I want to ask these questions. I'm making some decisions. I'll come back in 6 months. I'll be like, man, like all these things are happening now. And then maybe your soul wants you to focus on specific healing at that time, because it is the time to look at it, right? And they'll come back in another 6 months. They'll be like, well, yeah, I worked through that stuff, but I feel like there's still these things, and it'll be like a cycle. They'll just by the way the questions and the things that they're looking at different points of their life and in their journey, you can see that as a cycle too. At least I perceive that as a cycle of like, they couldn't have looked at what they're looking at today a year ago. They weren't ready
with what they did before.
No, they needed to go through the layers to be able to get to where they are today, so they can keep going under those layers. But you can't skip layers, right?
But that's why I say try to not get a reading again till something changed, because that means that doesn't mean there's nothing to work on. It means that like, if nothing changed and you didn't change, or your scenario around you didn't change, then you're probably still going through the same onion layer, right? Yeah. But once that changes, something, or the onion layer changes, or you changed, then we can probably get to the next layer. And then reading might be a little bit more, it might be different.
Yeah, and that could be like that you physically changed in some way, like by making a decision or moving or doing something different. Or maybe the circumstances outside of you are pushing you to go see and deal with things that you weren't ready 6 months ago, right?
Or even changing your perspective or the way you feel about something as well.
Totally. Something needs to shift. I also believe that it's not about you wasting your time or money. It's like, are you actually looking at the layers? Are you working through them? And if you're not, then go do it. Start to get brave and do it, because it's going to help you to keep getting under those layers.
What is the saying? The human being is the only one that makes the same mistake twice.
I don't remember the saying, but something like that. Yeah.
It's true, man.
Well, that's part of our journey here too, right? That we have free will to make the same mistake 20 times.
And then another lifetime, another 20 times.
And then you can do that in another life too, right? So you can keep repeating it for all eternity if you want. But hopefully we all kind of decide not to do that. Decide to be like, well, now it's ready. I'm ready to learn this. Like, I need to look at this. I can't ignore it anymore. And I think many of us get to that point, and that's when we actually change stuff. Because if
crises.
Yeah, like a crisis.
Helps us get out.
Some kind of crisis that makes you like feel like you need to make a change. You know, some people say that with like their health. Like they got to a point in their health where, oh my God, I've been making such hard, like bad decisions, and now I have to make a really hard decision on changing things, like my health with the food I'm eating, with how I'm living my life, with stress. Maybe I need to quit my job, et cetera, et cetera. And I think until you can have a crisis, sometimes people won't change. And that's when they start looking at the layers, right? They start peeling those back and say, okay, let me work on this first. Let me work on that.
I think I never would have started the podcast with you or deciding that I was going to do readings more like my main thing than my like secondary job. I think that I had to go through the divorce. I had to, like something about that whole process. Just, yeah.
I agree on that. I don't think that if you had stayed here, we would have started this.
No. I don't know why exactly, but
I feel the same exact thing.
I remember, Lorena, breaking down crying, being alone. Aurora was like a baby. And I remember breaking down crying and just praying. I would just hours. I would cry for hours and I'd be praying, like, what is the point of this? Why? Like, just make me understand it. Like, just help me get out of this already. Like, I don't even know. Depending on which crying mode I was in that day, what prayer I was doing. I did a lot of candles, rituals, and a lot of praying. I was like grabbing strength from wherever I could. Like I couldn't even deal with it anymore. It was so bad. And I remember thinking, this is the bottomest bottom that I've ever had, like my entire life.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah.
And that ultimately led you to make a huge decision. And I do believe that. Like I do believe that you making that decision and everything that happened to you was a catalyst for also me going down my path and making certain decisions. I was forced to take responsibility for certain things within myself. And then to get those messages of us like working together somehow. Like it's insane. Like if you think about it, how one thing can lead to the next. And this is why you shouldn't try to like skip steps. Like just go with it. Like follow through with whatever your intuition is telling you.
It's so easy to go into the victim role. Like, of course, in that moment, I was going through it, and it was probably you could probably categorize that as victim role. But like, I mean, like after you're through that, you got to get yourself out of the victim role at some point. Go, that's it. I'm taking my power back. I'm taking my worth back. Right.
That and always needs to be there.
I could still hate my ex-husband and just, you know, and blame him for the whole thing all the time. But I don't actually have a really good relationship with him, and I actually think that he's a soulmate because he taught me so many freaking lessons. There's no other option I think that when someone teaches you such hard lessons, because there's this like romanticized vision of a soulmate. I always say that, like, ooh, my soulmate, they're here, my companion forever, right? And alignment and happiness. Actually, usually your soulmate loves you so much, like, I'm willing to be the bad guy of the movie of the next lifetime that you're in because I really care about you. So I truly think that he's one of my soulmates that was here to teach me like one of the most important lessons that I was here to learn that was going to set me on a track that I really needed to go down. And only he could have probably done it. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that releasing the victim role allows you to also pardon the person, but not because I have to pardon you. Pardon you in the sense that like you can still recognize what they meant to you. You can still recognize what they brought into your life. Even the bad things that came in, what that brought into your life. Like, I think that we all need to get to a place where the villains of our life story become the individuals that helped us get to where we are. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, I totally get it. It's like those people that we look as the villains, they're actually sometimes our saviors. They help us realize things, learn things. And this isn't about excusing behavior, right? Like,
no,
we're not talking about that. We're talking at a spiritual level here.
Yeah. Stand in your power.
Yeah.
Say that you're worth more, that you want more.
Yeah.
Right?
But you're not a victim of that. It's like you empower yourself through whatever happened to you, which can be very hard. Of course, it's a struggle. But I think ultimately trying to find your way through that on the other side and not be a victim is super important. And you see this a lot. Like, people just want to be a victim. It's easier. I don't have to learn lessons. I don't have to peel the layers of my healing cycle, right?
I just blame the other person.
Yeah. It's just much easier.
They say that staying in the victim role and just saying, well, it's because of the other person, that's kind of you taking away your own worth.
Of course.
That's you not allowing yourself to step in your worth and bring in things that you deserve. So just by staying there, you're going to stay in that place where, universe, keep giving me the same junk. Keep giving me the same situation. I deserve that. Because I'm not going to take myself out of it. So yeah, we're talking about energetically, right?
Of course.
The universe sees what you do more than hears what you say.
Yeah.
So you can say, I want to be abundant, or for example, but then you have this belief system that you have to like do a job you hate and work for hours and not have a life. Well, then you just via your actions, you just told the universe that actually your time is worth nothing and your happiness is worth nothing.
Mm-hmm.
For example, right? I'm using this example because I think a lot of people understand abundance more.
Yeah.
Right. That goes the same with your struggles. At some point you have to say, well, I'm not saying don't cry, because you have to. We did a whole episode about it, like 3D feelings. This is something that we live here in the 3D, right? Those emotions.
We have to have.
We also have to process them and get them out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was in that room crying and feeling all the stuff that I was going through, and it was heavy and it was hard. I think I might have stayed in a little longer than I should have. I don't know, but that's my opinion. But I'm Sagittarius, so I'm always done with everything.
You always think that you're done. Yeah. You're like, maybe I should stay in this longer, like you were saying last time, right?
Yeah.
It's like, no, it is what it is. Like, as long as you feel like you've went through it, you honor that. Doesn't matter how long or short.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's so many aspects to healing, like from the role that you play within that, how empowered you are within it. Sometimes you don't want to look at stuff. We're not ready to deal with it. Like, I know this stuff, I'm like, yeah, I'll look at that some other time. Like, it's too much work. And I know there's stuff I need to work on that, I will at some point. I was saying something
to Sandra the other day. Because the difference between me and Sandra is like the difference between me and you. Like, Sandra, it's like I'm dating you sometimes.
Oh, God, that's weird.
I know, but like, he's so similar to you in so many things. And I'm like, you and Lorena. Like, he'll do something or say something. I'm like, you and Lorena are the same, man. But so like, we're talking about how he deals with things and how I deal with things. And he's like you. He carries them out and he carries them out and extends it, right?
Because he doesn't want to make a decision, or
exactly.
Yeah,
doesn't want to make a decision. And change is really hard for him to accept or to bring into his life. Where I love change. I'm excited about change. Like,
yes,
you're gonna come and like, I don't know, like burn my house down. Whoa, that means that like another house is gonna come and like, I don't know. I'm like excited about change all the time.
I have been like that in the past. Like, the idea of going to a new country and starting fresh was something that would like excite me for sure. And I've been through those, but I think it's other things. Yeah. But I get what you're saying. Yeah. I understand that.
Yeah. Well, he's not, he never has that. Cause he's lived here forever. Right.
Yeah.
So he doesn't go through that. But anyways, I was saying like, I lost my train of thought.
So you're talking about how you guys deal with things.
Yeah, I forgot my point. Oh, man. We were talking about how I deal with things. And I actually get excited when crap hits, crap hits the fan. Mm-hmm. It's like, ooh, this means that everything's going to, like, this thing is going to change. And I'm like, I get excited for, like, what might be coming. Like, ooh, that means that something even better is coming after that. So I actually get excited sometimes when things like that happen, like really severe changes come into play. Yeah. It's weird.
See, I can see that side of it, but like I'm thinking about even when I lost my job, right? I've wanted that.
I wanted that to happen. Like I wanted to not have a job, right? I wanted to work for myself. Yet I still allowed it to affect me for a few days. I snapped myself right out of it though. I was like, no way. I'm taking advantage of the situation. I'm not sitting around. I'm not moping. I let myself cry for a couple of days and then I was like right back to work. And it kind of lit this fire inside of me that I was like, now I have the time, I have the capacity, I have the energy to do things for myself. Like, bring it on. But I didn't make that decision. I didn't.
That's
go,
what I was about to say to
I mean?
you. I wish you would have made that decision because that's a pattern in your life, especially with jobs. You always want to leave them, and you always stay till the universe goes, Lorena, done.
I've quit jobs, but yeah, I think that's with a lot of things. I think I drag it out.
Yes, I think after you complain about it for like 2 years or something.
Yeah, it's crazy, and that's something that brings back like stuff that Patricia said in like astrology classes, right? In humanistic astrology, like the astrology that I'm learning isn't really predictive. It's let me understand, let me look at everything, and let me see where I can take the bull by the horns, right? Where can I make the changes that I need to so that I don't have to learn the lessons the hard way? Because if we can learn them on our own, life isn't going to throw us crap, right? It doesn't need to. We're not going to be thrown all these difficult situations because we already learned that lesson, or we can be like better equipped to deal with it. So I find that energetically, yeah, it is better if you can make the decision, you put up those boundaries, you energetically make that kind of change, because it will. You've learned a huge lesson doing that, right?
But also, if you didn't make the decision, if you didn't do it, that onion layer might come later on, right? It might be in the middle of the onion, and you're going to have to confront it again.
Of
so, like
course,
you're saying, it's better if you take the bull by the horns instead of the universe going, all right.
Energetically speaking, it's always better. If you can be like, this isn't working, or this isn't good for my health, or this isn't good for whatever, and be like, okay, there's changes I need to make. Some people are very analytical. Some people are very emotional. Deal with it the way that you need to. But you making the decisions always better. Like, I'm obviously talking to myself right now, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yes. And we all have to, like, this is where you have to be self-aware. Like, I know for me, security and safety are very big things with all of, like, the earth energy in my chart, right? But for you, it might be something else.
Oh, I know what mine is. I talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
It's really easy for me to leave, but it's really hard for me to stay.
Yeah.
Like, in whatever situation it is.
Yeah, it's like run for the hills.
Yeah. That reminds me of the quote from Eat, Pray, Love.
Yeah, I love that
where she
movie.
says, the only thing harder than staying is leaving.
Yeah, I think that's
I always
it.
think about that quote.
I love that movie.
I do. There's a bunch of quotes in there that I remember. Like, I mean, I think I watch a movie once a year.
I try to, yeah.
Especially if I'm going through something specific. I'm like, ooh, I gotta get my quota of.
I literally, last time I watched it, I cried the whole time. The whole time. I was like,
I
poor
don't
woman.
think I cry.
I don't know. I think I was just emotional. I think I was just an emotional wreck. And I just cried the whole time I watched it. I was like, maybe this movie's just helping me release stuff right now. It's good.
Side note, you know, when Jane the Virgin, season 5, was it?
Lucia,
what
do not even
Rita,
talk to me.
I cried so much. I cried so much.
My.
I don't know if anybody listening watches it, but
if you haven't watched Jane the Virgin, I would definitely recommend it 100%. It's one of my favorite shows.
Well, I mean,
after you recommended it,
if there's guys watching it, they might not like it.
It's still good. It's like telenovela, but like funnier and like
it makes
really
fun of
well
telenovelas while it's being a telenovela.
Yes, exactly. I was watching the last season because remember I got it here much later than you did.
Yeah, and I told you, Lorena, prepare yourself because you're gonna cry.
I was like, whatever, and I'm a crier. You guys know that. So, yeah, I think Joe came home. I was binge watching, and he came home. And he looked over and I'm like, tears are streaming down my face. I'm like, I'm crying. It was so sad.
I love how people that are obviously crying have to announce that they're crying.
I always do that. I'm crying. I'm sorry. It's a good show. I love shows that make you feel. Like I definitely.
I think I watched a few of those episodes and then I went downstairs. Of course, Sandra doesn't watch it, so I watched it on my own. And then I went downstairs to get some tea. And he was probably watching soccer. I don't remember now, but like hugging him. He's like, what's wrong with you? Like, nothing. I'm just so happy that you're still here.
Oh gosh.
Because like you feel for the person who just, lost someone, and then you go downstairs and your person's still there, right?
I have to watch it again from the beginning.
It's good. I mean, come on. Total telenovela, whatever, everything that can happen to her happens and more.
And more, yeah.
And more. Yeah. Anyways, we
always, as always, I mean, we always like to mix in this fun stuff too, guys. This is what spirituality is about. Like, it doesn't all have to be serious all the time, right? Like, this is why we go all over the place. It's like, mix it up, have fun. I think some people might think like spirituality is so, it's like so serious. It's not. It doesn't have to be.
The souls are even serious.
No, like you do readings, you're like, wow, and you already start laughing. They make you laugh. Like, It's great. I love that. Do you want to add anything else?
I was reading, no, but I was going to say, like, I remember reading someone, and it stuck, and this was so many years ago, and it stuck to in my mind because I remember the masters of the person, they were showing me that they were, like, elbowing each other, and they were cracking jokes between each other.
I love that.
And I obviously have the person, this was an in-person reading many, many years ago, so I had the person in front of me. I'm like, I'm sorry, your masters are really funny. They're like, and that person ended up being that way. That's the way that person was as well. So the person seems to have picked those masters because it better assisted with the energy that they wanted to bring into this timeline. I'm guessing that's the process. I don't remember if I asked that or anything because it was so many years ago, but that was the impression I got. Like, you picked the masters that in this, I like to call it the spiritual team, right? You picked the spiritual thing that's better going to assist the timeline in the way that the timeline's supposed to react and feel and be and observe and share, right?
Of course, yeah. I truly believe that. And you get that through readings, too. You understand that. Yeah. Sometimes if you ask the right questions, right? So we'll wrap this up then. Just a few things. First of all, we are still doing our packages or like our healing. It's kind of like, it's not really promotions, but it's more packages. So we kind of bunch together different healing modalities that we both kind of work with. So for example, for me, it'd be flower essences. Lucy, it's the angelic healing, the dual readings, all of that. So make sure you check that out. I'll link that below. We're going to kind of run those for a while. So they don't really have an expiration date.
And
it's a good way to save.
Package. Yeah. And they're saving from all those things put together, the price that they would normally be.
Yeah,
the one that's doing the best, that's like doing really, really well, is the one where they get a dual reading, the Bach flowers from you, and then angelic healing from me. So those three things. And I think it's a really good way to work the like mind, body, spirit, and then the healing of the information for the Akashic Records. Like, it all comes. It's my favorite package as well.
And we work as a team. Yeah, and we work as a team too. So it really does help kind of work through a bunch of layers. Like we were talking about, like the layers of healing.
Yeah.
Apart from that, we will be doing possibly another level 2, Akashic Records level 2 Zoom course. If you are interested, we'll put the link in the show notes. So make sure you sign up. So we're going to be sending that information out sometime very soon, actually. So make sure you guys sign up. Same thing with level 1. We're thinking about doing another level 1 Zoom course this year. If you're interested, make sure you sign up so we know who's interested. Otherwise, we'll just hold that off until next year. Yeah. And I think that's about it. I don't know if there's anything else. Like, we're still doing our podcast.
In September.
I know.
It's like September, October, November, December. And that's it. That's the rest of the year. So we're like,
what is your cat doing?
That's Wendy. She came upstairs to say hello to me. Now she went back downstairs. I'm sorry.
Wendy. I miss her so much.
She's the best dog ever.
She's the best. I mean, I love my dog, but I think kind of Wendy's better. Sorry. Not sorry.
Oh, poor Sandy.
I miss Wendy.
But Sandy has a lot of issues. It's hard to like.
I still bond with her so much, but
yeah, it's hard to
Wendy,
help her, though.
I was there for a week and I was like sleeping with Wendy. She was sleeping with me. She was so cute. What I wanted to mention was that we are still doing the podcast assistant. So if that's something that you're interested in, just like maybe even help with just getting your podcast started or the whole process of starting a podcast, we're helping with all of that. So make sure you reach out to us. I'll put that information on the show notes as well. And yeah, that's it, guys. We'll see you guys next week with a new episode. We love you guys. And if you guys do really like this podcast, make sure to go on iTunes and to give us a 5-star rating and review. That really will help the podcast, and we'd really appreciate it. So if you can take the time to do that, that would be amazing. And we'll see you guys next week with a new episode. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you.